people get all annoyed and butthurt or whatever about your culture this, your culture that. Well, maybe this person's culture is doing this way better than your culture, right? People get so bent out of shape. Political correctness, fuck political correctness. It is destroying humanity, right? To pretend that something is true just to cater to somebody's feelings or to have somebody not have their feelings hurt. Are you fucking crazy? That is the complete opposite way that I was raised, right? So I think people need to take accountability for their thoughts, for their actions, and to constantly refine themselves so that they can be leaders of their own household. Nobody's asking you to be the leader of the world. Be the leader of yourself. Be the leader of your household, and vice versa. Have your wife be your leader. Twin flame energy all day.
Love that.
So that's how impactful my family was for me. My grandfather, man. I think about that guy every single day, and I do my very best to honor my ancestors and all those that came before us through self-transformation, right? Through shedding what no longer serves, understanding what these principles are, how they affect my life uniquely so that I can reflect on them and understand what needs to be adjusted, what needs to be changed, what needs to be modified, so that my focus is on self-transformation, self-improvement, becoming a good person. That's what Jesus Christ represents. It's a metaphor. I don't think that anybody's going to come here to save us, so to speak. I think that Jesus Christ energy is already in you, waiting to be unleashed, activated in your DNA. And Jesus Christ is a metaphor for resurrection, right? And what are we resurrecting? Continually, you're resurrecting yourself. You're literally shedding energy that no longer serves you as you self-reflect, as you follow the principles that you're learning. It's actually more akin to alchemy. People think that alchemy is just mixing metals and this and that. Spiritual alchemy is understanding that all of these energy zones fall within a certain range and they produce matter, elements, and they all fall within energy zones, and these energy zones have energy ranges. And the more you shed, what does it mean to shed something? It means you're ejecting something out of your life and hopefully replacing it with something much more powerful. And that energy that you're replacing is dense. It's carbon-based. It's fucking dense. And you're replacing it with really light energy. So what you're really trying to achieve is a climb. And what is the climb? It's shedding what no longer serves as you increase your vibration, as you shed the things that no longer serve you. And energetically speaking, you are literally creating what we call a diamond body or a light body. There's no coincidence that you're made out of carbon. You're carbon-based, and you're made out of water too. So that's why we call it the diamond body, because what happens to carbon under immense pressure? It turns into a diamond. What happens to a human being? My grandfather is the best example of pressure that never was broken, but refined and polished and then transferred that tradition over to me, right? And your experience can be unique, but what is not unique is the structure. There is a fundamental pattern to creation. And once that's understood and passed on and refined, you keep improving and improving and improving the knowledge so that you can improve your journey. And that's the purpose of generations, to shed what no longer serves and to pass on the good things pragmatically as possible from the heart and have beautiful children and have an awesome family and inspire others to do the same thing, right? But that means that you have to be able to conquer your own demons and temper your negative desires and all this shit. And look around us, man. It's a fucking inverted world. So much materialism, consumerism, violence, this and that. It's enough to make somebody go crazy, right? But it's also enough to inspire somebody to stay on the straight and narrow and follow that path of wholesomeness, of goodness, of righteousness, to be upright. And that's what it's all about for me right now in life. I'm married. I have a beautiful wife. I love her more than anything. And she understands this path just as well as I do in her own way. And we feed off of each other. We love each other. We can be kids with each other. And I can't think of a better person to do life with than my own wife. And I don't believe in coincidences. And there's no better place for me to be than here with you chatting about all this stuff. So thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. Love having you here, man. This is going to be great. You brought up a phrase and a concept, and I'd really love to learn more about it. I'm sure our audience would love to learn more about it. You say that it's an inverted world. What do you mean by that?
It means that the energy that suspends this existence has been polarized. And there's a specific reason for that. Because God itself is an amalgamation of everything that exists, always, especially when you're talking about time. And what's the polarity of love? A lot of people will say fear, or they'll say other words, but love is a combination of all the principles that exist, that can exist, integrity, honesty, humility, et cetera, but it's specifically all the positive polarities, right? And people talk about like the Big Bang and how there's expansion or a separation. Yeah, there is a separation of love. So you have all this polar energy and everything in between. And this world specifically, how do you feel it? Do you feel that we're living in a world that's closer to positive polarities or negative polarities? It depends on your point in life or your circumstance, but overall, look at it. Look at the condition of the world, and it's okay to analyze the world through this lens. That's what God wants you to do. That's what your mission here is to do, is to understand that there is a structure to the universe, and that not only is it okay for you to analyze this world through these types of lenses, but it is demanded of you. That's what Kabbalah is. That's what Christianity is. That's what all of these religions or spiritual esoteric practices desire. That's what their goals are, is to give you a practical explanation of what's going on around you, so that you can become a better person. It's so cliche to say to become a better person, but it's so fucking true. It's so true. Look at the condition of the world, right? An inverted world, I'll give you a really good example of an inversion. Materialism, right? It's okay to have nice things, right? But is that all you're living for? Is that all you're living for? Like if you were to take a pie and slice it, divide it in terms of what your focus is or what you appreciate it, and if most of that pie is taken up by material things or by false power or imposing, forcing people to do things that they don't want to do, right? Or just literally being a piece of shit, that is a really good example of an inversion, right? Your DNA has a specific sequence to it, your DNA itself. And once humanity is conditioned to live a certain way over a period of time, your DNA template starts to invert itself. The energies now are literally operating in reverse of each other, right? And that was originally the purpose of this existence within these time matrices, right? To live in these inverted worlds and these fallen worlds. Why? Because are you more powerful than an angel? Are you more powerful than a demon? If you can survive this world, not just in this life, but in multiple lives, right? Through your ancestors, and you keep coming back and you keep coming back, and your bloodline keeps coming back, and the spirit is never broken, and eventually you start to, what happens to those gene codes? Kabbalah says, right, to correct the soul by 120 degrees. What is it talking about? What has degrees? A circle, a sphere, right? And what is, on a molecular level, what is existence? It's atom, quarks, particles. When you look at the center of an atom, a proton and a neutron, and then you have electrons spinning around it. You know, the electron cloud is spinning practically at the speed of light. You are made out of atoms, period. Right? And we can go really deep with it. And I mean, it gets way deeper and really interesting, but I'm trying to explain it in a relative fashion so that people can kind of connect to this, right? Because there's a lot of research and a lot of practice and a lot of meditation and a lot of et cetera, that goes into this. But boiling down to it, you're made out of atoms, your energy. That's all you are, different energies with different energy signatures colliding together. You know, your abstractions of energy pulsating. And we go back down to the atom, right? The electron cloud is spinning practically at the speed of light. Does it feel like you're moving at the speed of light? Well, people don't really realize that traditional movement doesn't really exist. what's happening is there are quantum light fluctuations. You're deconstructing and constructing so fast that it appears that you're moving, but you're really not doing that. And it's a beautiful thing once you can understand that on a molecular level. And that's what Kabbalistic meditations are all about, right? Getting to that deeper, the deepest solid level where you can envision one of your molecules or an atom and how it's spinning. And remember, there's all these principles, right? And all these principles correlate directly with the body and how everything is spinning together and pulsating together. And you can literally focus on one of these principles or multiple principles and dial in on one of these atoms or molecules and how it's whipping around. And you can do this with multiple and how they're connected with each other and creating this energy